I just got out of class and back home, and my classmate said something to me. There are assholes, there are bitches, there are cunts, there are crazy, and then there's normal. And this all stemmed from me saying, what do you think of this guy? Blah, blah, blah. And it was a YouTuber that I thought is cute. She's like, oh, he's an asshole. And I said, what? This guy's nice. And she's like, no, he's an asshole. I know an asshole from an asshole. And I'm like, how do you know an asshole? And she's like, because I'm a bitch. So I showed other pictures of YouTubers and friends, and she's like, that one's a cunt. That one is an asshole depending on who he's with. Your friend is crazy. And I was like, what's the difference? And she said, this is the difference. So I'm letting you guys know, and I'm going to put myself into it. So, first person up was asshole. An asshole is somebody who just does things for shits and giggles. An example would be an asshole who, you know, you're walking down the street, and she actually used this analogy. You're walking down the street, and this person said, where the fuck are you going, asshole? And you go, I'm going to a coffee shop. Person says, did I fucking tell you to go to a coffee shop? Did I fucking allow you to go? No, I didn't. So why the fuck are you doing it? That's an asshole. They do things for shits and giggles. An asshole is best with a bitch. A bitch is different from a cunt and is different from crazy. And crazy and cunt are kind of similar but totally different. Okay, so a bitch is somebody, like, she may fuck with you a few times or whatever, but, you know, she's the one where she might have the catty stuff or whatever. An asshole needs a bitch, and a bitch needs an asshole. Both of them will mellow each other out. It's very important. An asshole and a bitch cannot date a boring person, because if they're given free reign, that's how they become sociopathic or they become cunts. Which then, of course, since we've done asshole and bitches, now we're going to go to cunts and crazy. The main difference between a bitch and a cunt will just fuck with you at any time. She will fuck over your family, she'll fuck over your dog, she'll do whatever. For example, she could have sex with your best friend in your bed and not give two squirts of shit. She's impulsive, she's just, I don't give a fuck. She doesn't care about anybody but herself. A bitch will at least give two squirts of shit about you. At least, you know, a bitch is loyal. A bitch is loyal, and a bitch will stick up for you. That sort of thing. So that's the main difference between a bitch and a cunt. A cunt can never get with an asshole. An asshole will always be brought down by a cunt. Because the cunt will make everything about her and be like, he did me wrong, this is what he did. And you're like, oh my gosh, that guy, that asshole's a dick. No, he's an asshole, hon. So, with that in mind, you then have crazy. I am crazy. Crazy is the person who is nice. Whereas a cunt doesn't give a fuck. I do the same things as a cunt and a bitch, apparently. Where sometimes I do things that are kind of wrong. Sometimes I do things that are just, what the fuck. But I feel bad for it. Like if I were to have sex with a best friend on our bed, I would feel bad about it and be like, I'm so sorry. Whereas a cunt doesn't have any remorse. The thing about an asshole is an asshole should never be with a cunt. Should never be with a crazy. Should never be with a crazy. Crazy should never date assholes. Because the thing is, with crazies, we tend to like the assholes, and the assholes dog us out. We're the type of people who, we don't have a filter, we tend to speak from the hip. We say things that we probably shouldn't say, and as a result, assholes are like, they're embarrassed to be around us. And it's hurtful for crazy because you're like, oh my gosh, your personality is just your personality and it sucks. So for crazy, we need someone who is boring. This is also why boring goes well with crazy, but does not go well with cunt, assholes, or with bitches. And this is why I'll explain it. A boring person is someone who, you know, does their job, comes back or whatever, you know, they're mellow, they don't really care. As a crazy, and I when she was telling me this, I'm like, I think of all my exes. Oh yeah, that would work. With crazy, you want somebody who's just like, you know, who's there for you, you know, does stuff, whatever. But you want someone who you can add spice to their life. With crazy, you're like, hey! And boring loves you and lets you be crazy and fun. And that's great. But boring people should never, ever, ever date a bitch or an asshole. Here's why. With someone being boring and letting an asshole or a bitch stay with them, if there's no consequences, there's nothing to stop the bitch or the asshole from saying, oh, I shouldn't do this. And guess what? They can free out. And once they free out, that's where you get the sociopaths who are assholes. They just destroy everything because it's funny to them. And then you have the bitches who become cunts. And you never want that. So if you are a boring person, and a boring person is not, it doesn't mean that you're boring. It just means that with your life, you know, you go to work, you go to school, you do your thing. You're like, hey, blah, blah, blah. That's really what a boring person is. And so if you're boring, you should be with somebody who's either boring, like yourself, or you should be with a crazy. Hi. But you should never be with a bitch or an asshole. Bitches and assholes go great because they can stop each other from becoming mega assholes or mega bitches or slash cunts. They keep each other in check, so then they're like, okay, I'm this, I'm that, blah, blah, blah. Like, they make fun of each other. They're cruel, kind of. That's what they are. So you don't want to be that. You never, ever want to do that. If you're an asshole and you're reading this, then I hope you find a bitch. And if you're a bitch, I hope you find an asshole and that you never become a cunt. And cunts, you're fucked. I don't know what to do with you. You guys are screwed, okay? You need to go work on your issues. I don't have time for that shit. Anyway, this is Veronica, aka Crazy, signing off. I hope you guys are doing well. Hearts and kisses.